everyone. So one of the exercises that I do, which is incredibly rewarding, it's a powerful exercise to do for trading, is to look for trading opportunities that I missed. So there's a couple of reasons for doing this. So the first thing is that it constantly reiterates that there are trading opportunities that do occur. So we need this as traders because we need to be able to be reminded the money-making opportunities are there, and we might miss them because we are distracted by something else, but also it's just motivation. So it reminds us that they do occur, and it gives us a sense of abundance, and we need that because in the beginning, when you're a newer trader, you're panicking about missing out on stuff, and when you get to a certain stage, you realize that the market is providing them. They just might not be in the market that you're currently following. And so the trick is often to scan. So that's the first that's the first kind of point that I want to make here, is that it's an exercise in abundance, and it's an exercise in just as a reminder as to, you know, how often the strategies work, whether they work or don't work, whether they're profitable. Generally speaking, a strategy should be profitable month on month. The reason why is because if it has, for example, a 60% win ratio, that's kind of saying that if, you know, you should make money on more of the trades you take. So unless you take a single trade and it's a losing trade, if you take two trades, statistically, one of those trades should make money, if not both. So the point being is we should generally be up month on month. And so that's the first thing. So what I do is in this exercise, I'm going to focus on swing trades. So the reason I'm focusing on swing trades, and I'm going to focus on currencies. Although currencies only make up a third of the asset classes that I trade, it's very common for people to trade them. So I think it's worthwhile exercise to include currencies and to do the first episode on this, on currencies, to demonstrate that yes, there were money-making opportunities on currencies. And we're going to keep it as swing trading because everybody in the world can take those trades. It's not like it occurs in a time frame when you're sleeping, or its possibility of missing it. It's very simple. It's yes or no. It's a black or white setup at the end of the day. Is there a potential trade setup or not? And then one caveat is this is focusing on the best trades that set up this month. And it doesn't focus on other setups that might have been losing trades or break-even trades. This is really about what were the best opportunities this month. And I'll do in a separate video I can talk about, or in this one, I'll mention these are setups that I took or didn't take. Okay, so without further ado, let's kick off. So the first thing is there's a couple of rules here. All of these trade setups have to have met the strategy requirements. Okay, so they had to have met the strategy requirements, and I had to have been awake to take the trade, meaning that, again, and this is why swing trading works well, because this will demonstrate that trading end of day, where a lot of newer traders are chasing trades on lower time frames, just as really as a point to demonstrate that in currencies alone, there was enough to make 5% per month, for example, in the last month. And that isn't always the case. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes there'll be less, but this is a great exercise in doing that. So I'm doing the first episode on August 2020. And it should also have been a setup that was pretty obvious, not just something in hindsight where you go, well, it's obvious in hindsight, that stood out. And these will be trades that I either took or didn't take, trades that I missed. So the exercise is really good for me as well, because it'll identify a setup that maybe I was considering and then I decided not to take, and what was the outcome, that possibly even a trade I didn't even consider, and then trades that I did take. Okay, so so the first one at 5th place is Euro Yen. Right, and so this generally, why do I like this? It had a really, really good trend. There were actually previous setups that I'd marked. These are other trades that I had taken. I skipped this one over here. Really, it was just a very large candle. And then this one was quite interesting. It was actually an indecision candle. And so my entry would have been just above the high, usually 3 pips above the high, stop loss below the low of the previous candle because that's the swing. And actually this one is still in play. And the way in which I've handled these trades is taking profit at 1-to-1, and then I may trail my stop behind a swing low, for example. Taking profits as I go. Usually I have a 3-to-1 take profit, or potentially close the trade out at the next key level, just below the next key level, or take a 3-to-1, close the trade out. But stop loss, recently I've just been taking 2, ultimately trailing it behind swing lows, or there has to be a really clear reason why it's changing direction. So this one is still open, and it's sitting at 1.6 to 1 at the moment. 1.6 to 1 in terms of reward to risk. All right, so in fourth place is, let's have a look. In fourth place is CAD yen. CAD yen, also a yen pair. So you're going to see some correlations here, but this one was a bit more obvious. And actually most of these, as I'm taking them, I'll usually post up in LinkedIn or in, I'll post it up in LinkedIn, I'll post it up in my trade group, or I'll post it up in, not Instagram, in, why am I blanking on this? Twitter. So, okay, so I'll post it up there saying, this is what I'm looking at. This looks like a semi-decent setup. This one stood out for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's effectively a break and a retest of resistance. We've got resistance on a couple of candles below. Price will pull back into the moving averages, produced a nice little bullish candle. And that it's a decent sized candle. It's not small, it's not great, relatively decent setup there, and it took a while to take off. So instead of just immediately becoming a swing low off support, and it's a nice round number as well, nice round number there, it's taken a while. And if I had been trailing my stop behind each daily candle, I would have been stopped out already, but in this particular case. And so this one is in fourth place with 1.8 to 1 so far. I'm rounding down, but 1.8 to 1 in terms of reward to risk. And in third place is Aussie yen. So I'll talk about the fact that there's quite a few yen crosses here as well. So Aussie yen, actually what's interesting about this one, I posted this into my group, and I can't remember if I posted it online, but it's effectively a breakout pattern. So this is a very slow and steady breakout pattern, but the Aussie pairs have been looking bullish, and the yen pairs crosses have been looking bullish. So there was a combination of factors there that made it very likely that it was going to break out through this level. And usually I don't enter in below the levels, but this one was relatively decent, I felt. And so I had a nice little indecision candle there. And the indecision candle with a nice little stop loss again below these recent swing lows. Price subsequently actually broke out of that and took off. All right, so that one is sitting at 3 to 1 at the moment. Pretty nice, and I had marked where I would expect it to do that was a breakout. I think I put it on Twitter and I put it on LinkedIn. If it goes on LinkedIn, it goes on Twitter as well. It's just a standard thing. And I'll usually do that before I place the order. I'm just trying to build up this kind of where the opportunities are. Okay, so in in second place, we have pound yen. So this one, beautifully, I was leaning more towards Aussie and GBP being the stronger of the pairs a couple of weeks ago. They've ultimately paid out that way. And this one is a relatively small bullish candle on a consolidation. But again, it was a yen pair. So it was also building up as a bit of a breakout in that case. But it was essentially a yen pair, and that's really why I was quite a fan of it. Entry there, stop below the most recent swing low, which is this candle to the left. And price is still ongoing, and that one is actually sitting at 3.9 to 1. That's what I've got at the moment. So I took so far every single one of these trades I've taken. So they're all yen crosses. And that's because the yen pairs just generally appear to be weakening across the board. And so their counterparties are strengthening, and so all of those have tended to climb up. Not all the setups have occurred on the same date, and the risk has been pretty much apportioned to that. So I've probably taken about 12 trades on currencies this month, maybe less. And so these are 4 of those. That's it. And then this leads me to number one. Best trade this month that has occurred, best swing trade. So what do I mean by swing trade? Well, swing trade meaning generally it would be down to a single candle, which would, in the case of a uptrend, would be a swing low, or in the case of a downtrend would be a swing high. I'm only trading trending markets, not interested in ranges, not interested in counter trend trading. And so in this case, the winner is, for August, is dollar CAD. So dollar CAD in principle, as a combination of the weakening US dollar, has been trending incredibly well. And this one produced a pretty obvious, I think a pretty obvious setup, a nice little bearish candle within the moving averages, pulling back. This one was on the 10th of August and actually then continued to head down low. There are actually a couple of additional entries here, which they're not relevant to this, but I have entered later on. However, this is the winner for August, and I did not take it. The reason I didn't take it is because of the general the general unreliable behavior of the dollar at the moment, the US dollar at the moment. And so I didn't take it. And yet this is actually the winner, so it's a bit frustrating. I am in it at the moment, and I'm up already, having taken it on the 20th. But this move was a relatively obvious move in hindsight. I saw it, and I passed on it. Okay, and I passed on it because I had a bias in my head about the US dollar. So this one had a really nice entry just below this level of historical support. So if it broke through the level, stop loss above the high of that swing high. And this one is sitting at 5.5 to 1 in terms of reward to risk, a return on that trade. And so those are the best ones that I've seen so far. Yes, 4 of them are on yen crosses. That's not always the case, but the JPY charts were trending. Dollar charts I didn't really have a lot of faith in, and they have continued to produce and trend really well. So that one went on. The setup at the time, as I said, it was there. I saw it. I decided to pass on it, and it did actually pay out. I then subsequently got in on another very valid entry, and I'm up on that one. I think I'm up about 2 and a bit to 1. But those ones together. So that's 1.6 to 1, 1.8 to 1, 3 to 1, 3.9 to 1, and 5.5 to 1. So those are the swing opportunities this month. And that would have been 5 trades. There would have been maybe a couple of others. There were not a lot of really good swing trade setups. So that's the beauty. In fact, there were not a lot of good trade setups, which means there would have been very few losing swing trade setups this month in trending markets. If you just ignored markets that were in trending, it was unlikely that you would have you would be down. You'd be profitable this month anyway. And so that was very good, and I hope you enjoyed this. The point here is really to highlight where these opportunities are, and again, obviously, you highlight them in real time. They get highlighted in real time, usually on LinkedIn and on Twitter. And sometimes if I have time, I'll do a video on why I like the setup and then take the setup. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here, but I wanted to say that was obviously the case. So in terms of what I'm looking at, I've got 26 currency pairs. All right, so I've got the euro, I've got all the crosses with the dollar, then I include crosses, euro crosses, GBP crosses, Aussie, Kiwi, Swissy crosses. Okay, so I don't have Kiwi CAD listed here, and I don't have dollar Singapore dollar. So I don't have that. What else? Obviously, and that was it. And the setup should have been relatively obvious, either bouncing against the fib level, support resistance level, nice trend, nice bearish or bullish price action, and also potentially bumping up against monthly pivots or in the moving averages as well. So there, I'm going to leave you with this, but I think that in that respect, it was really interesting, and there were definitely opportunities in August. So yay.